in this part of the video, we'll be integrating with the front-end code. Now, let's just begin writing our front-end. On first installing the dependencies required. So I've just opened the terminal with bash. So cd front-end, and then I'll just give the command as npm install Wagmi add rainbow add stack react query, and this is npm install Wagmi VM at rainbow kit or stack react query. So let's run it. So now it's installing all the dependencies. So Wagmi is a React hook library for Ethereum compatible blockchains like Rootstock, and Wagmi handles all the wallet connections like sending transaction, reading, writing to smart contracts, and all of that. Talking about VM, so VM is a lightweight, fast, and modern Ethereum contract. So which is used under the hood by Wagmi, which handles RPC calls, encoding, decoding, and blockchain communication. Talking about Rainbow Me or the Rainbow Kit. So this provides a beautiful UI for wallet connection, which supports the wallets like MetaMask, Wallet Connect, Coinbase, etc. And it works seamless with Wagmi. Talking about Timestack React query. So this manages all the data fetching, caching, and synchronization like a smart data layer, which is commonly used with Wagmi to manage blockchain and API state efficiently. So in short, we can say that this one command will install everything needed for wallet connection, for blockchain interaction, and the data state management. It's taking quite long to install this, so let this happen in the end. And now just go on. Let's just go on writing our front-end code. So we'll just create a file in front-end named as .env wallet connect project, and then you have to paste here your project ID. As I've already mentioned before, you can get your project ID from Wallet Connect. So Wallet Connect is an open source Web3 protocol that is the decentralized application like dApps to connect to crypto wallets securely and easily without needing any browser extension. So it just creates a bridge between your dApp and user wallets. So simply you just go to Wallet Connect website and sign in there, create a new project, and copy your project ID here in this env. And then you'll have next public underscore contract address. So you'll just copy here the deployed contact address. So we have already deployed the contract. So whatever the address we got, we just have to deploy it with 0. So let's go on creating the wagmi.ps file. So in front end, go to src, create a folder called lib, and in this you just have to create a file in this. So in wagmi.ts, now let's just write our code. First we'll begin with import get default config, get default config, and we'll get this from rainbow and rainbow. So this will import the rainbow kit functions to easily set up the wallet connections like MetaMask, wallet connection set, and you'll use it to generate the config object for your DApp. Then we'll go on exporting. So export cons Rootstock Testnet, and we'll give here the ID first as 31. So this 31 ID is the Rootstock Testnet chain ID. Then we'll give the name as Rootstock Testnet. Rootstock Testnet. So this is just a human readable network name that will give here it as network Rootstock Testnet. And now we'll give native currency. So native currency will actually describe the testnet native token that are used for gas fees. So let's give decimal 18. So this 18 decimals is like standard for Ethereum like token. Then we'll give the symbol to it as ERBTC. Alright, then now we'll give the RPC URL. So first this RPC URL will specify how your DApp talks to the blockchain. It has two things in it. Default which will have default HTTP, and here this will have the public node testnet link, that is http node dot testnet dot rsk.co, and then we'll have the another one as public, in which we'll have the another link. So https public dot testnet dot rsk. And now we are going to give a block explorer. So block explorer. So this will, like, the Rootstock public testnet RPC's endpoint is used for both like default and public access, as we have seen this here in RPC URL. Now let's give block explorer, which will again have one more like default in this. So default, we have name, and it will name it as Rootstock Testnet Explorer, and then we'll give the URL to it. Then so this will just link your DApp to the Rootstock Testnet Explorer. Users can view the transaction and the addresses. Now let's give testnet equal to testnet x2. This will inform the Rainbow Kit or the Wagmi that this is the test network and not the mainnet. So now let's just have as cons. Then we'll have an export here, export cons config, and we'll enter the get default config, and then we'll give the app name to it. Here below we'll give app name. This as const will make the object's values read-only, like type safely, kind of. Now app name will give it as Decentralized Identity Registry. Decentralized Identity Registry. Then we'll give it a project ID. So project ID will be underscore public wallet connect project ID. Just project ID. And so this will give the wallet connect project ID, and it will load it from your env file that you have created earlier. Then we'll have chains. So chains, and that will give rootstock testnet, and SSL2. This chains rootstock testnet will just add your custom rootstock testnet chain to it, and this SSL2 will just enable the server-side rendering support that's just required for needed for Next.js apps. So here we are done writing. I complete Wagmi.ts code. Now let's go on creating contract dot. So let's just now create one more file named contract.ts, decentralized identity registry. So in this you have to enter your ABI key, the ABI key that we have seen while the ABI key that we have generated while deploying the smart contract. So you just have to paste this key here in between, and then write the code further as export cons the contract address, which is equal to f.env dot next public contract address, like contract address. Then we'll export the interface profile. So name it as we'll give the name to it in a string format, then bio again in string, then avatar in string format. Then we'll have the timestamps that we initially gave as created at, and we'll have the big int, and similarly we'll have updated, and again we'll give this in big int, and last we'll have exist, which will be an boolean in true or false statement. That's it. So just that's it. This will be our contract.cs. Now similarly in this, in source app, we'll create one more file, and we'll name it as provider dot. Can you see it here? Now let's go on writing the code in it. So we'll begin it with use client. This use client will mark this file as a client component in next.js. So it will run it in the browser, not on the server. And this is needed just because the wallet connections and the UI interaction happens on the client side. So that's because it's required. And we'll import query client provider, and this will be taken imported from at trans from transtack / React query. So we'll just import this from transtack React query, Wagmi provider from Wagmi. Then we'll be import Rainbow Kit provider from Rainbow me / Rainbow Kit. This will be from Rainbow Kit. Then we'll import config at library at slash live slash Wagmi. As I've created Wagmi.ts file in library in frontend folder. Then we'll import the rainbow me / rainbow kit file CSS. Right. So firstly, this React query will handle the API blockchain data caching and updates. And this Wagmi, as I said, is a React hook library for Ethereum compatible chain. So it will do that. Rainbow Kit is a UI toolkit for wallet connection buttons. Then config will be your custom Wagmi config, and style.css you have written here is to add the Rainbow Kit's default wallet UI styles to it. Now let's give const query client equal to new query, and then this will create a single React query client instance to manage the caches data and the API states globally. Now we'll just export the function named as function providers, which will have children React dot React node, React component called providers, and it takes in children. That means whatever components you wrap inside the providers will be get accessed to this global providers. So now let's write Wagmi provider. Now we'll have the query client provider equal to the query client that we have defined earlier. So here we have got default the closing tags. So the next tag we have is Rainbow Kit provider. Inside that we'll have children in this function. So here we have completed our providers.tcx code. And now let's just move on writing page.tsx. So I'll just create the main application there. So go to frontend, go to src, you'll see your page.tsx. Go there, and here already we have the code. So just remove all the code from here, and I will just update this. Let's begin. Again, we'll use your use client. Now we'll import the connect button. Import connect button from rainbow me / rainbow kit. Now this will just create a new component for connecting wallets. We'll have this use account, use wait contract, use write contract, and use wait for transaction receipt, use write contract, use wait for transaction. We have here use write contract, use wait for transaction receipt for I will just import it from Wagmi. We'll import it from Wagmi. Then we'll import the use effect from React. So it will just import the and now we'll give another import decentralized identity registry ABI, and we'll just give more things. That will be from contract address and the profile. So in this we have importing the decentralized identity profile details, library, and contract. Now we'll export default function. So import default function, which will be home. Inside that, write the cons. We'll have address and is connected. Is connected. And equal to use account. So it will just simply get the wallet connection status and the user address. The cons, write contract, and it will be equal to the use use write contract. So this will hook for writing to the contract by sending the transactions, and we'll be defining more const here. So const by set profile, which will be equal to use state. Then so this will give null. This will just this is local states for managing user data and you. Now we'll go on defining another const is editing, comma set is editing, which will be equal to use state false. Then form data and set form data. Set form data, which will be equal to use state, and that will include the name, the bio, and the avatar. And then another const will have search term and set search term. Set search term, which will be equal to use state. Use state, and inside this, keep it empty. Then cons for search results, and set search results. Set search results, which will be equal to the use state that has to be less than the string, and give this. So we are done giving all our cons for managing all of the user data. Now here another cons in which we'll just read the connected user's profile from the smart contract. So user profile or refetch, which will have the refetch profile, which will be equal to the use read contract. And in that we'll have address, the contract address as 0x. Then we'll have it in string format, whatever the contract address is. So string. So in this format we'll have the contract address. Then we'll give ABI, which is Decentralized Identity Registry API. Then function name, which will be get profile. Then we'll have RGS, which will have the address, which is undefined. Then we'll have query, and that will have enabled address. So this will only fetch if the wallet is connected. So just this here. Now let's give another const for data has profile, which is equal to use read contact. Then address will have contract address as, so we have everything similar to this only. So we'll just write it as in string. So similarly we have this in it. We can just copy paste it and do the required changes. So our ABI is same. The function name would be has profile. This address should be undefined, and this will be the query, and that will only fetch if the wallet is connected. Now let's go on doing another one where we can get the total number of profiles stored in on-chain. Let's create one more cons that will get the total number of profiles stored on-chain. So cons data, total profiles, the profile that will be equal to use read contract. And we have similar the addresses ABI and the function name. So just copy it from here, paste it here, and we'll do all the required changes. So main change that we have to do is in function name. So our function name would be get total profile. And now here again will be one more const that will check if a blockchain transaction is still pending or not. So I'll give constant that we'll have is loading, and is transaction pending, which would be equal to use wait transaction receipt. Now let's use effect that will update all the local profile states. So when the fetched user profile is changed, so use effect will be given from, so we'll give if the user profile set profile user profile as profile, if user profile set profile user profile as profile, then set form data. This is your file and set form data, which will have name, user profile name, then bio, which will be user profile dot bio, and finally avatar, which will be user profile dot avatar. Close it. Now we'll have a user profile. So user profile will closed here. Now we'll create one more const that will actually create a new profile. So const, and this will call the create profile on the smart contract. So const until create profile will to async. It's asynchronized. It should be equal to not address. Then return try and give a wait right contract. Then similarly here we'll give the address, ABI and function name. So we'll give the address, ABI and function name in this. So we have our address. So the function name will be changed. The function name will be create profile. So it will be create profile, and next give args, which will form data dot name, form data dot bio, and form data. This has to be form data dot object. So now let's give set timeout first, which will have refetch the profile. So this will refetch the updated profile after the transaction is completed, and then it will catch the error and it will have console error and it will display as error creating profile. The error will be displayed. Now next we'll create one more const which will be there for updating the existing profiles, and this will call the update profiles on the smart contract. So let's give const handle update profile and update profile. It is quite similar to the one that we have done here prior, and we have given all of those. So let's go on doing the same. Let's copy this, and now let's go on editing this. So if not address written, then we'll try await the right contract, and we have the address as contact address as 0x string. Then we have the ABI from the Decentralized Identity Registry ABI. The function name will be changed to update profile, and the args will be form data name, form data bio, and form data after. Then we'll have here is set is editing instead of set is count. Set timeout will have set is editing, and inside that we'll have false, so it will see if any editing is happening or not. And then we'll have this set timeout, and then it will refetch the profile once the transaction is done, and then it will catch an error. Let's console dot error, and this error updating profile, and the error will be displayed accordingly. Now similarly we have it for delete profile. It will delete the user profile, and it will call the delete profile on the smart contract. So I think I'll just copy pasting this down. So here we'll have const delete profile, and we'll have this same as if not address return try await write contact. The address, the API, the function name will be changed to delete profile. The address will be same. Then here set editing set is editing will not come, and we'll have direct set timeout, or then we'll have the fetch profile 2000 catch error, and here we'll have console.error deleting the profile, and the error will be displayed accordingly. The next one we have is to search profiles by its name using only read-only contact call. So let's give one data search results data and refetch it, name it as refetch search, which will be equal to our use read contract that we have given. Use read contract. Then we'll have address, ABI, function name, RGS, and query, the one we have given here earlier. This thing. You'll have the address ABI function query accordingly. So on this we have, so same address, the contact address, the ABI of Decentralized Identity Registry, the function name will be changed and it will be search profiles by name. We'll display it as search profile by name. By how this RGS will have a search term here. Similarly, here we'll have the search term and which will be undefined. Now we'll go on creating another const for triggering the search when user clicks search. So for that we'll have const handle search or string not search term dot trim search term dot trim, and then it will return refetch search. It will return refetch. So and now we'll have use effect which will just update the search result. So we are having this update the search result when the data is changed. So if search results data, then we have to set search results and we'll give search results data as string. So search results data will give search results data, search results data. And now let's return the we'll create a para in that we'll give wallet address. So we'll give the wallet. First we'll give the connect button. First we'll give the connect button. Inside this we'll write connect button. Then the connect button will just the wallet connection button for an reinvoked UI. The value is connected, it's connected, and then we'll create a para here and as wallet, which will have an address inside it. Address. The para tag will be closed here. This is just in wallets general info. So again, a para tag for total profiles, and we'll give the total profiles in it. Start to string, I'll just give it to 0. Para tag is closed here. Now let's give use profile. We'll have as profile here, as profile that will just it will display the section of profile. So as profile with a para tag, we'll give a name, first name that will be profile, then we'll have the bio and avatar similarly. Bio will have this profile bio, and we have para tag again for giving avatar that will have profile. Similarly, we have now we'll give the edit and delete buttons to it. So I'll give first the button. So button on click, it will just cite editing. That is editing, and we will say not it's closest here. The button is closed here. No, the button tag is still in button tag where type is editing, cancel and edit. And here button tag will be closed. Now we'll open one more button tag. Okay, so we'll have one more button tag in which we'll write on click Inside button tag will have click, which will be equal to handle delete profile and then delete profile. Then I just close this here that we have opened. So this tab is closed here. This tab. Here's another p tag. Inside this we'll write no profile found. Create one below. Write a form for creating or updating the profile. So let's give this editing and as profile and operator, and I'll just open a tag here. Inside that we'll give input placeholder, and we'll just give it as name, then value. Well, inside value we'll have form data dot name, form data dot name, and then we'll have on change equal to, and now we'll write it. It will go from echo set form data, and this will just give the form data, which will be e dot target dot value. This here will just close this input. We can close the input tag here. Then we'll open one more input tag. Placeholder will enter the avatar URL. Then the value will be equal to the, and you can have the on change that will be equal to e that form data, and similarly this will have data e dot target dot value. Similarly we'll also add bio here. So for bio we'll just change the names to bio. This avatar will be changed to bio. Here this will be in on change we'll write here bio. So we have done this for our name, bio, and avatar. Now let's add a button tag here. Now we have added button tag here. So in this button tag, we'll write on click equal to as profile and then date profile, and I'll create profile, then disabled, which will have the form data dot name dot trim, and then we'll just write is transaction pending here. Is transaction pending? Close this. Now just write is transaction pending, and if the transaction is pending, it will display processing. Otherwise, if it has profile, then it will display update. If the transaction is not pending, also the profile is not there, then it will display create. I'll close the button tag here. Now we'll write a section for searching. So give h3 tag here to get the size of the search profile, and then we'll open an input tag inside this. Inside input tag we'll write placeholder, which will be equal to search by name. Then we'll give the value to it. Value will be equal to our search term. Then we'll give on change, that will be equal to e, and that will be equal to set search term, and inside that will have e target value. Close it here, and then we'll close the input tag here, and now we'll open a button tag inside the button tag, and we'll write on click, which is equal to handle search, and this will give search, and then we'll close the button. Now we'll display the search results. So search results dot the length, it has to be greater than 0, and we'll give the unordered list here. So we'll open an URL tag in this. Inside this we'll write search results dot map, and we'll give the address. Then we'll give the li tag for list, that will be equal to the address. So just close this tab. Here we have already closed this tab. So what we have opened here, and we'll give a para tag here. Inside this will write please connect your wallet. So this will be a message for users who have not connected their wallet. Please connect your wallet to container and this part is closed here. Now just and everything here. This is closed. This is closed. And that's it. So our front end is done. Now we'll just our front end code is done. Now we'll go on running it. So just open your terminal, we'll open the git bash into it, and now git bash is open. Now we'll give it command as cd runtime, and inside this we'll give npm run dev, and this command is just to run our program. So you can see our program is running, and after this we'll get the link here, the localhost link, which we have to open, which will take us to our project. So this is a link that we have, this local link we have to open. So now I have redirected to this link. Now let's just connect wallet, MetaMask. Now just connect it to MetaMask. Now here we can create a profile and just play with it. So enter the name, bio accordingly as Rootstock, and let's not just enter any of that URL and create profile. So the MetaMask will pop up here. Let's confirm, and it will start creating the profile once the transaction is confirmed. So still it's pending. You can just see here the wallet status is connected and our network is Rootstock Testnet. So here we can just switch between the networks. So our transaction is confirmed in the MetaMask. You can just see here the create profile is confirmed. And the status you can see it here on Blockchain Explorer. The test box here you can see, and now your profile will be displayed here, the RSK. And you can just edit and delete the profile, and here you can search your profile, and you can just see the results. The address can be seen. So, and now in this you can just, once it's ready, you can deploy it to mainnet, or accordingly you can add more features like profile verification, social features, or optimize the gas cost further and add more wallet support to it. So this was the complete video that gave everything needed to build and deploy a production ready decentralized identity DApp on Rootstock. So thank you everyone. Happy coding.